for real. Milk. Dream milk. Up to now. The LA sisters. Talk to my LA hoes. Difference. Who knows? Who save her? She don't wanna be saved. She don't save her. She don't wanna be saved. She don't save her. Be saved. Now, no role models to seek up. Fine one. My feet rubbed. Hey, what's good? What? Leather wood. Camera hoods. Something about it. Bitch, nothing about it. Better me. Celebrity. Actually, you know what? That sucks. You can't customize it. Should run me alive. Run me alive. Alive. Hold on. Yes, sir. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Yeah, fool me one time. Shame on you.
Hi.
Yo, what's good, South? How you darn? Uh,
Where were you the whole entire day?
working.
It's already April, skull and crossbones.
What? What do you mean? Oh man, I could have made that look nice. Nicer. That's more my speed. I had to get me into some newer games, so.
Anyways, what are you playing by the way?
Need for Speed Heat. I used to play this a long time ago, but I haven't played it in a while, and I really wanted to. Beyond man, man, man. Move your ass out the way. One night stand. big old rain. Rain. Oh, I just... Dang. You again? Oh, dang. Be your man. Your man. Off you go. Work out for me, work out for me. Hello. And down to the floor. The scene.
Skip video. Face turquoise covering eyes.
Huh? Oh, girl. Won't do no more. Uh-oh, cops are coming.
Chasing after this.
Just kidding.
This evening, it's a high gear.
All right, everyone, the hunt is on. Go get him.
Move, car. There's a move thing. Run around to you again. Everything. Oh my god, it's fucking stupid. It doesn't drift like my other car. That's damn near as fast as this. Me forever. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, I'll tell you, move, cop. Fuck.
Found a fool who can't get enough of us. Let's give them what they want.
Drawn to the attention you've given him. Come on, move it, everyone. I want him caught this time.
And run. Come on now. Come on now, we gotta run that race back one more time. Just one more time.
Car again. The chase is on.
I want everybody back on this driver ASAP. Don't let him get away again.
Chased by one cop. Dude, fucking hit the shit out of my car. You little fucking verge.
Turn on play this all day.
Oh my god, fucking move! Oh, my car's fucked. It's done. No, I didn't play this all the day. I literally just got home and had dinner. Don't you just be like this? Car's gonna be fucked. Told me it'd be like this. Great. The cop fucking is chasing me now. car can't go as fast as it needs to be. I'm done. It's done. He's gonna ram me.
Y'all can calm down now. I got this.
Yeah, we're gonna fucking ram the shit out of my car. There it is. There we is.
Laying out a stinger to stop the getaway.
Turn, car. Turn. Great. I fucking hate this shit. This car sucks. Does not turn. Your pit sucked. Come on, yeah? Let's get it. Oh shit. I'm in the dirt. Let's go. I don't even know what happened there.
What dinner did you have?
Some Mexican style chicken noodle soup type thing, and then a couple tacos. Some taco or some Mexican type shit. I don't know. Maybe it'd be like this. Be like this.
Found him.
Yeah, you probably see me, but I'm gone. I'm gonzo.
Spread out and search for that vehicle. They can't have gotten far.
Oh, bitch. That's the way you sunshine on me.
Terminating the pursuit, you guys gotta do better than this.
Come on, give us more time to find him. No? Fine.
Wrong car, dude. This shit does not drift. This is a track car. Built this as a track car so you don't have to drift as much. Nice. I do not have enough.
Which one do you like better, Messi or Ronaldo?
Neither, they're trash. I'm better. Brothers and neither. They're actual garbage. Kidding. Kidding, I'm kidding. I don't even watch soccer, big dog. But I guess I'll
Hickey grinning face with big eyes.
no, I would say Messi, because he plays in the United States now. There's actually no
Hey,
way.
someone's back. Got eyes on the car again. Ah, I see him again.
There's no way.
Skull and crossbones.
What can I say? Yeah, I'm making. You need 25,000 to fucking. Oh my God! Move! I have to fucking run away from these cops, dude.
Gotta stay on the offensive here.
Dude, your little Corvette does not match. Move, car. Fuck.
You make us look like amateurs. Send some real backup.
You need some support? Guess what? You're getting it.
Oh my God, I'm hitting every car possible.
There's a reason they gave me the faster car. Hey, Control. My POS vehicle's been KIA.
Okay, got it.
Gotta do what I can to get him over to the shoulder. Few more of those and I'm gonna have to tap out. 710, ready to stop the progress. I'm falling behind.
Teachers these days, because when you ever ask to use the back room, some of the teachers are going to say no when you really have to use the B.
You legally can't do
Oh,
that.
this is absolutely necessary. Chopper fuel costs a fortune.
Like legally speak. Well, I don't know if you're in the United States. Actually, never mind.
Attempting hard contact.
Move, truck. Damn.
You all are now acting as backup for a next level pursuit vehicle. Air 1 incoming to active pursuit.
Be advised, we got Stingers set up not far from where you are now.
They aren't slowing down, so I ain't backing down. We're ready to take them down.
Dude, these cops just are riding dick hella hard.
He did.
Rhino's been called in to assist.
Moving in for a slam. Rhino made hard contact with the suspect vehicle. I can't catch the suspect. Their car's way faster than mine.
Rhino mad gay. Rhino incoming, bro.
Incoming hard
Jiggle,
contact.
jiggle.
Need you to deploy a bear in the air control.
Chopper is fired up. and should
You're
be
not
real
getting
soon.
past this, brother.
Stingers are being set up ahead. Here's hoping it works.
Copy. 710 in position to support.
Oh, bro, my car is done for. Fucking car is done for. I'm not getting past this anymore.
Let's block this one in. Control, my car's been disabled. Can't continue.
I know it's not. He was going to crash your car.
Rhino's ready. Make sure you stay out of its way.
Bro, my car is done, dude. These cops won't get off me.
100 school is a prison.
I mean, it literally is formed around a prison, but... Oh, I'm dead. Yep. Oh my god, this car is fucking retarded. I hate this shit. I'm not using it anymore. It doesn't work.
It's okay. I managed to salvage something from what you brought in.
Fucking had cops chasing me every fucking second. I had fucking 5. It's fucking retarded. Can't get enough.
Oof.
Yep. That car sucked. I wasn't getting away from cops because that car couldn't move like this one does. Boyfriend, nobody should knows. Heat 3. Ooh. Can't get enough. Got the spot. See how it's just. Oh my god, I love this car a lot better. It's harder to control, but it can turn. And not have a fucking big ass turn. You don't have to turn like this. Oh, you fuck, dude. Just turning like this. Sorry, drifting. You should know what I'm talking about.
I do not mind if you keep on playing this, but I'm going to probably be, so I'm going to check on my friend if he is still playing Roblox.
Alright then, gang. Alright then, gang. That was a GG. Yes, sir. This game's all night. I can play all night. Yes, sir. Oh, yes. Stop hitting me.
Fire up your sirens. It's on. I call dibs on the first hit.
Wake up. We've got one of our guys in a pursuit. chasing our tails here. Pursuit's over.
Guess we're not gonna catch this one.
Out, names, shit's. This is a game, brother. Nothing in my cup. I don't know why I'm always putting the last place for there. It just should make sense.
I won't pass up another chance to stop this one. Control, I'm in pursuit again.
Suspect from before has reappeared. I want all available units to get back out there.
Escaped. It's easier to escape in 3 anyways. 5, you gotta fucking be a magician. Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo. Brother. See you later, brother. Bro, I'm gonna outrun this cop.
Suspect reacquired. This time we'll end it the correct way.
Okay, everyone, the coffee break is over. Our previous runner is back for more.
How am I back for more? You're the one that found me. More than a mile ahead of this dude. Or the second place dude. It's the Heat 5. Man, I gotta get a good race in real quick. I guess I'll bust down this race real quick. I do not mind if...
Fresh grilled wine rolls. It's a better way to eat and drink.
Hey, it was really sweet of your son to go offer to play with mine. And I smile at him. He looks at me and goes, "That boy is not my son. I don't know who he is." He walked over and asked if I wanted him to play with my daughter. And he just kind of followed us around until you guys got here. Weird, right? He shook his head and walked away. I got this very uneasy feeling in my stomach, and I walked over to the seesaws. They were gone. I run back and hand my daughter to my friend, and then took off yelling my son's name. I see them walking towards the trees. I would guess they were a football field or so away from the area. I got this awful feeling, and I ran as fast as I could, yelling my son's name. He turned around and started trying to walk toward me. The boy grabs my son's arm and pulls him towards the trees. He then gets upset and starts yelling, "Hey, let go of me." Now, something that you should know about my son is that he has ADHD, and he does not like to be grabbed, pushed, or pulled. So when he gets frustrated, it usually comes out in very aggressive ways. And the moment I was thankful for this, he begins punching the boy and headbutting him like a crazy person. The boy lets go, and as I get to them, he disappears into the trees. My friends finally realized something was going on, so they're now standing at the edge of the play area, looking baffled. My son is crying. I'm shaking. I have no idea what the just happened. I asked my son where he was going, and he said that his friend wanted to take him to go see Ryan. He was referring to the guy from Ryan Toy Reviews, his favorite YouTube channel, which he talks about non-stop. He told the boy about Ryan, and apparently the boy claimed that he knew where Ryan lived, then asked my son if he wanted to go visit him and play. So of course my son, not knowing any better, said yes. I have no idea what this kid's intentions were. I don't understand why he would lie to my son like that, and why he wanted to take him into the woods. Maybe this was completely innocent, but deep down, I know it wasn't. This is a memory I've tried to block out, but the other day when my siblings and I were talking about the funny stuff my dad did when he was alive, and how sometimes he would be humorlessly absent-minded as a parent, this long-forgotten memory came back to me, and I can't stop thinking about it. When I was about 4, I had a playground fall that resulted in a serious cut in the back of my head that needed stitches. A few weeks later, my dad took me back to the doctors to have them removed. I was very brave and sat very still for the doctor, unlike the huge fuss I had made when they put them in. So as a reward, my dad got me an ice cream and took me to the beach. It was a very small Australian town, and the beach was quite secluded. Even though it was the middle of the summer, there was only a handful of slightly older children swimming, mind you, without their parents. My dad walked me down to the water's edge and sternly warned me to stay in the shallow water and to not go any deeper than my knees. Then he disappeared. I imagine he was using the public restroom or something. I know that sounds bad, but he really wasn't a bad father. As I mentioned before, he could just be a bit irresponsible and absent-minded sometimes. But he always meant well. It drove my mom insane. There was an older boy, about 10 years old. He was paddling around a few meters away, but slowly came in closer.
They're gone, so
He
screw
then
it.
called out to
See
me.
if I can get some race
I
events
remembered
on
he
social
had
media I can
blonde
do
hair
better.
and was smiling brightly. He asked me what my name and age was. I answered, also telling him about all the important details about my trip to the doctors that morning, emphasizing that I have been a very brave kid to impress him. My story seemed to amuse him, and he asked why I didn't come out and swim a bit deeper. I explained that I wasn't allowed to go in past my knees until my dad got back, because I couldn't swim very well, and I didn't want to get into trouble. He assured me that I couldn't possibly get into trouble if he was teaching me how to swim, and besides, my dad wouldn't see because he was gone. When I was still hesitant, he added, "Are you afraid? I thought you were brave." So I followed him out until my feet couldn't touch the bottom. He immediately grabbed me and held me under the water. I'm getting angry and upset just thinking about it. I struggled, but he was more than twice my age and my size. I realize now that he had separated from the other group of kids, so they wouldn't know what he was up to. Drowning an unattended child is the perfect crime, because you could easily pass it off as an accident. Probably only seconds before I lost consciousness, the boy abruptly let go, and my dad lifted me out of the water. I could see the look of bewilderment mixed with fear and rage on his face. Then, for what seemed like a very long time, he patted me on my back while I screamed, sobbed, and coughed over his shoulder. By the time I had settled, and my father was satisfied that I was okay, the blonde boy and the other kids were gone, although my dad still went driving around looking for them. Had that kid stuck around, I'm quite certain my dad would have killed him. Shortly after this, we moved towns. I don't think he ever went to the police, but I can't be certain. All I know is that he never told my mom about it, because she would have lost her shit at him for leaving me by myself. I really do feel that kid seriously meant to kill me. There was something malicious about the way he tightened his hold when I struggled. I felt like he was determined and not messing around.
I want to start off by saying that I'm very open about my past, and I have an amazing support network. I chose to share my story on YouTube to help out others get through similar situations. Nobody should have to feel like they're going through trauma alone. The first 8 years of my life are almost completely blocked off by the events of one night. Even 20 years later, I still remember what happened like it was yesterday. My father was a very angry man who would verbally abuse my mom, older sister, and myself, and occasionally becoming physical with us. One day I was sitting in his chair while watching cartoons, and he grabbed a wooden spoon from the kitchen, and he hit me across the head with it, and the spoon broke. He had actually hit me that hard. He came from a very twisted and evil family. My mom was the complete opposite. I don't remember much of her, but I remember feeling an overwhelming sense of safety and love. During this time, we lived in a country town in Australia on the outskirts of the town. In early 2002, 3 days after I turned 8, I had a nightmare during the night. I woke up and I'd walked through the house to my parents' room. I woke up my mom and I told her that I had a nightmare. We then went into the living room and she made the couch for me. We fell asleep almost right away. I don't know what time it was, but I woke up to the sound of banging, like someone was hammering a nail into the next room. I then felt a splash of something hit my cheek. I then wiped it away as I was waking up. To my horror, I then saw my father standing over my mom, wielding a bloody hammer, and I then looked to where my mom was laying. There was a bloodied mess from where her head was on the pillow, and this will be forever etched into my mind. I froze and I tried to scream, but I made no sound. I then looked at my hand and I saw that it was blood that hit my face. Then my father covered my mom's head with the pillow to try and hide what he did. I then ran to my sister's room that was across the house. When I got to her room, I tried to tell her what happened, but again, I made no sound. My mind was going 1,000,000 miles an hour at this point. I remember hearing what I wanted to say in my head, and I was really confused why my sister wasn't panicking.
Finding him. Now don't
She
let him
followed me
find
to
a
where
way
our
here.
parents were. My father dropped the hammer and was now calling the police on himself when we ran into the room. My sister was screaming at the top of her lungs when she saw my mom laying there. We could still hear my mom trying to breathe, and I will always remember that sound. My father called the police 3 times to tell them what he did and give them the directions to our house. He also ushered us out of the room to the other side of the house, away from our mom. He caused all this suffering because my mom said she wanted to take both my sister and I and then get away from him. My mom did get us away from him. Unfortunately, however, she paid the ultimate price to do so. He served 12 years in prison for what he did.
Heavy armor on
From the
you.
letters he sent us, it was hell for him. One incident that stands out to me was he had used the prison swimming pool when he shouldn't have. Some
Dude, it
high-profile
won't
criminal
fucking
was
move.
using
It won't fucking
when he
move.
returned to his
It
cell,
won't fucking
his bed was
move.
on fire. Hearing that,
I'm
part
fucking
me
tired of
really
this game.
wished he was in bed when it went up in flames. During late 2011, I was diagnosed with cancer,
Fucking
non-Hodgkin's
tired of this
lymphoma,
game.
and near the mid of 2012, I beat it. Near the end of his prison sentence, my father developed skin cancer, and he got most of it removed. Well, a few years later, it came back, and there was a really high chance that he wouldn't survive it. He died in 2014 in the presence of his twisted family. When I found this out, I had felt a huge weight lift right off of me, and I thought it was almost poetic that I beat cancer, but he didn't. Due to the event happening so close to my birthday, I've always really hated celebrating it. I used to really pretend enjoying it when family and friends decided to do something for me during the first few years after this all happened. But later on, I just chose not to do anything. All of my friends and family have always been really supportive over the years, and I've been in therapy for years and dealing with anxiety, depression, and PTSD for the past 10 years. I'm unable to work or have a love life due to very low self-esteem. I was lucky that I found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the age of 13, because it hasn't only been a great way to let out my anger and frustration in a controlled environment, but also, my coaches have all taught me how to remain calm when I'm not on the mat. To my cold-blooded father that stole my mother from me, I honestly hope that you're in the deepest, darkest pit in hell.
Hopefully this is okay to post here. My story is not one where I was the target of someone stalking or harassment, but one where I was the guy who was at the right place at the right time. And I'm fairly certain that my inadvertent intervention may have saved someone I'd never met. Well, who knows what. This was back in 2015. I'm a career tow truck and will most likely do so until I retire or die, whichever comes first. At the time, I was working for a pretty small towing company with only 2 employees. We rotated who was on call each weekend. It was my weekend on call. It was summer. So with people being out and about late and whatnot, I was pretty busy. Cleaning up accidents, towing broken cars down both in the city and off the highway. I was fine with it, because I was paid in commission at the time. So the more calls I did, the more money I made. It's Saturday night, now Sunday morning. It's around 2:30.
Walmart Plus members save on delivery, gas, plus so much more. Join today.
3. Like I said, I've been busy. I'm tired, I'm a little grumpy. I kind of want to go home when my phone rings. It's an insurance company calling asking if we could do a tow for one of their customers who's broken down on the side of the highway. The breakdown location they gave me is about 15 miles out of town, which I normally wouldn't do, but the tow destination happens to be a dealership that's a couple of minutes from my apartment. So I contemplate rejecting the call, but because I'm paid commission, I figure screw it. I can run up, grab this car, drop it up the corner from my place, then hopefully I can just head home and get a couple hours of shut-eye. So I take the call and hop onto the highway. The insurance company provided me with the customer's first name, which for privacy's sake we'll call her Kara, and then gave me a phone number for her. I usually try to make contact with the people who are on the side of the highway to let them know that I'm on my way, and give them an ETA. I tried calling her a couple of times, but she didn't answer. Not unusual. After a short while, I see hazard lights up on the way on the shoulder, so I turn on my strobes and start slowing down. As I approach, I notice that not only is there a late model car that I'm looking for, but there's another car on the scene as well that doesn't have its hazards on, but it's parked in front of the car I'm meant to tow. This is annoying but not uncommon, as I needed to be able to get in front of the disabled car in order to load it, and sometimes people don't realize that. But because the other car is there, I instead pull up behind both cars. Standing at the trunk of the late model car, which is now directly in front of me, are a man and a woman. The woman is probably in her early 20s, dressed to the nines for a night out. She's maybe 5'1" or 5'2". She's wearing tight leatherish or something pants, a halter top, long black hair, very pretty. The man is probably 5'10" and skinny, maybe 150 or 160 pounds, wearing a dark hoodie and dirty jeans. They're standing very close, facing each other. She has her arms crossed and he's leaning down talking to her. I step out of my truck and approach them both, and I introduce myself. They separate a few feet, and I look to the woman and say, "Are you Kara?" She nods. I say that I'm here from her insurance company. I ask what's going on with their car. Immediately, the man pipes up and says, "Yeah, it's just some fuel issues. It's an easy fix. Can you just drop it off at this commuter parking lot? I'm gonna fix it for her there." I'm rather annoyed at this, because the commuter lot in question is further up the highway. I'm already 15 miles out of town. Like I said before, I only took this call because it was supposed to be coming back toward my apartment, and I really wanted to go home. Not only that, but in order to change the original tow destination, I would have to call the insurance company back, wait on hold for them for who knows how long for a representative, and then let them know the change and try to get them to pay me extra for the deadhead miles back home after I unload. I really didn't want to do any of this. Thirdly, this is a late model car. I'm no mechanic, but it's new enough that whatever is wrong with it is likely covered under warranty, so the dealership is really the best place for it to go anyways. I explain all this to this guy, but he's not really having it. He gets stern with me, saying something like, "Look, man, you just need to take the car where I tell you to take it." We go back and forth on this for maybe 60 seconds, but he's just getting madder and madder. "But you know what, man? You're not the name insured. Kara is. The easy way to settle this is to ask what she wants me to do with the car. Whatever she says is what I'll do. Fingers crossed she'll want to take it to the dealership so I can get home sooner." I turn to look at Kara to ask her that question. I don't see her. She's no longer standing where she was a minute ago, which was slightly off to my right. I continue not to see her until I've turned almost all the way around, because she's standing directly behind me. And by directly, I mean within an inch of my back, arms still crossed. I look down at her, and she locks eyes with me. Her eyes are wide as plates, almost owl-like. Immediately, it feels like she's staring into my soul. She didn't have to say a word, and she didn't have to. I took a step back and did what I felt was like a double take. I looked at him, then at her, then at him again, then back at her. It slowly starts to dawn on me that maybe something isn't quite right. I ask her, "Do you know this guy?" And she ever so slightly shook her head no. The expression on her face when I asked her that will forever be burned into my skull. Turned to the guy and was like, "Oh, you gotta go, man." Now, I'm not a tough guy. I'm a total beta male, if there is such a thing. And I don't care who knows it. I've got nothing to prove. I'm super adverse to confrontation, and will run at the first sight of trouble. I'm not exactly the biggest of guys either. I am, however, what I like to call sturdy. I'm 5'8" and 240 pounds and have a bit of a gut. I also have big thighs and broad shoulders, and people generally surprised to find out that I weigh as much as I do. And I think that might have been my saving grace for what happened next. Without a word, the guy starts to move for Kara, and I move to stay in between him. He tries to push me out of his way by shoving me in the chest, but because I believe he underestimated my weight, only pushed me hard enough to make me take a single step back. Immediately, I took that step forward toward him and body check him, hard. As hard as I could. Hard enough to completely knock him over, basically onto his ass. Because we rotated during the back and forth push bit, Kara is now in front of me to my right, somewhat between me and the guy who's trying to scramble to his feet. I reached out and snatched up the poor girl by her waist, spun her toward my truck, and yelled for her to get into the driver's side. She does so. I turn back to the guy, who's standing up again at this point, and he's breathing hard. He gets right up in my face but doesn't do anything. Just breathes at me. I stare him right in the face, mustering up the best dad voice I can muster and just say, "You need to go." I'm shaking now. Absolutely terrified. I don't know if he has a weapon. Don't know if he's going to try to fight me. I don't know what I would do if he did. Like I said before, I'm not a tough guy. I don't even know how to fight. I've never been in a fight in my life. What if I get badly hurt? What if I get stabbed? What do I even do now? I just want to go home. I wasn't even going to take this damn call. All this is running through my head at lightning speed. After probably around 15 seconds or so, which felt like eons, he huffs a bit, smiles one of the creepiest smiles I've ever seen, and starts to back up, sucking his teeth and rubbing his hands together. He slowly starts walking backward a few steps, then makes his way to the front of the car, gets in and drives off. I stayed motionless, watching him until I could no longer see his taillights. I got Kara's car loaded up onto the tow truck. As we made our way to the dealership, she told me through tears that her car had shut off while she was driving. She pulled over to the shoulder and called her parents because she was on their insurance. Her parents made the call to the insurance company, who eventually dispatched me to her location. While she was waiting, a bit after she made the call, the guy pulled up in front of her, walked up to her passenger side window, and tried to talk to her, asked if she needed help. She told him she was fine, and that a tow truck was coming, and she didn't need any help. He persisted, and she tried to tell him off, eventually tried to roll up the window. Apparently he stuck his arm in the window and got the door unlocked, and opened up the door. In fear, she jumped out of the car, and ran to the back of her car, and stayed put there, because it was in the line of sight of traffic. Apparently he was pretty lewd with her. Whenever she tried to go back to her car, he would prevent her from getting inside. Several minutes later, I showed up. And who knows what would have happened had the timing been any different. Her parents were waiting at the dealership when we arrived. She told them what had just happened. Her parents gave me a $20 tip, which was all the cash they had on them at the time. And Kara gave me a very tight and clearly heartfelt hug before I left. I never saw her again. I tell you what, every guy has daydreamed at some point of coming to the rescue of a pretty girl in trouble, myself included. You think you're going to be a hero, that you're going to be the cat's ass. You're going to slay the dragon and get the girl and ride off into the sunset, like the king you think you are. But for me, being in that situation, in the moment, was one of the most terrible feelings I've ever had in my entire life. Forced into a confrontation I didn't want, nor was I prepared for. Not knowing what to expect from a clearly not well-hinged individual. I didn't feel like the cat's ass. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a scared little kid encountering a bully on the playground for the first time. If I'm ever in a situation like that again, I will never not intervene. I really just hope I don't have to. Thanks again for reading.
Back when I was 18 years old, for about 6 months, my boss drove me to work. I know that may sound a little weird, but I didn't get a license yet, and he knew my mom. It also helped that he lived about 2 minutes from my house. It was just a weird situation, and no matter how I try to preface it, I just know that it sounds weird. Most mornings, the drive to work was uneventful. We'd usually get to work at around 6:30 a.m., and neither one of us would talk in the car. He was usually hungover, and I just wasn't the talkative type. I'm a quiet person by nature, but I was even quieter back then. One day, we had to go to work at 3 in the morning for inventory. My boss decided it would be good to show me, so I got up extra early for that 3 a.m. shift. On the way into work that morning, my boss said that he wanted to grab some coffee at the gas station since it was the only place that was open. When we parked, as he was getting out of the car, he told me that he was going to hit the restroom as well. I just nodded and decided to wait in the car. I was exhausted from staying up way too late playing video games, and I was planning on just resting my eyes until we got to work. I'm assuming a few minutes had passed. I don't know exactly how long it was because I was falling asleep while I was waiting for my boss. With no notice, the back seat door opened, and it startled me in my half-asleep state. I just thought it was my boss, and then I felt movement behind me. I finally looked behind me, and just sitting there in the back seat was a woman. She didn't appear to be homeless or look like she was on anything. She just looked strange. And we made eye contact for a few seconds, and then I went back around trying to process what was happening. I'm a really quiet person, and I was even more quiet back then, like I said, and I didn't know what to say or what to do. I was just hoping my boss was going to come back out soon. I started to finally work up the courage to ask what was going on, and I was immediately freaked out when I turned around. She was sitting there, now smiling, but looking forward. I don't really know how to describe her eyes. They were cold and dark and seemed almost lifeless, even though she was kind of pretty. Even as I write this, I still can't get the image of her out of my mind. It had probably been about 30 seconds since all this started, and I finally uttered my words when I asked her, "Hey, is everything okay? You know this isn't your car, right?" Instead of answering with words, she just started to scream, erratically. It was so erratic that it was shaking the entire car, it felt like, or maybe just my head. I jumped back just out of panic, confusion, and shock. I saw my boss walking out of the gas station. I just dove out of the passenger side door and shut it behind me. My boss was confused and asked me what the heck was going on, and I just pointed to the woman in the back seat of his car. We both just stood there, almost in amazement and disbelief. She was still screaming, shaking and rocking back and forth. We could physically see the car shaking from her wild movements from inside the car. My boss approached the back seat where she was sitting, and as he grabbed the door handle, she put both her hands on the window, and I kid you not, started to hiss and growl at my boss. He said, "Nope," and walked back towards me. I was standing probably 10 feet away at this point.
He said,
He
"Nope."
immediately called the police, and we were hoping that they would arrive soon since it was a small town. The entire time that we were waiting for the cops, we could hear the woman screaming and the car still shaking. After a minute or two of waiting for the police, we went inside and watched her from inside the gas station. There was just something unsettling about the entire situation. She wasn't trying to rob us. She only looked like she wanted to cause harm when we got near the car. I mean, she was sitting in the back seat, so she wasn't even trying to steal the car. It was just all so weird. The cops showed up maybe 5 minutes after the call. We went outside to greet the officer and fill him in on the situation. And he looked confused, and I'm not gonna lie, he almost looked kind of amused by the whole situation. The officer tried to get the woman to come out calmly, but after a minute of her screaming and growling, he basically went into the car and apprehended her. And this is where this bad dream truly turned into a nightmare. Upon arrest, the officer had to remove 4 knives from her person. Yeah, you heard that right. This woman had 4 sharp objects on her. Thankfully, she never showed us the knives or even hinted at the fact that she had them. But even more disturbing, perhaps, is the fact that she didn't have an ID on her and she wasn't talking, so the officer had no idea who she was. This complete stranger came out of nowhere. She got into my boss's car without saying a word. She went from smiling to off the wall insane. Then, to cap things off, she had no ID and 4 deadly weapons on her. I've had some wild things happen to me over the years, but I'd have to say that this was probably the strangest and most terrifying that's ever happened to me. It's been years, and I remember this moment like it was yesterday. I'll never forget that woman's face, and I honestly wonder what she's up to now. When I was in college,
Yeah, I wonder what
I
Shotty's
attended film
doing.
school, and let me tell you, I
Oh,
loved
okay.
it.
Okay.
What a great
Appreciate
experience. I met so many
Fucking
awesome
fat
people and
ass
learned
truck
so
just
much.
parked there.
And I always loved it when we had a chance to create a short film. A chance to be able to tell stories with your unique vision. For me, I had a really hard time brainstorming and coming up with ideas while I was physically at the school. I couldn't concentrate in the dorms, and the library and places like that just didn't get the creative vibe. So, I started going on these long night drives whenever I needed to brainstorm. I'd throw on some tunes and just drive around letting my mind go to all sorts of wild places. On one of these night drives, I started to see flashing lights in my rearview mirror. When I looked back, the lights were getting closer and it was clear that it was getting pulled over for something. I pulled over and noticed that the car pulled over behind me. The lights went off, and I just sat there for a minute or two contemplating what I could have done possibly to get pulled over like this. I took the key out of the car and set it on my dashboard. I don't know if that's like a universal thing, but I was always told when you get pulled over, put the key there. I started to look in the mirror, trying to make out any details that I could, but it was just too dark. From what I could tell, it looked like a pickup truck, but I couldn't be 100% certain. I started to have my... doubts that this was even a real cop. I had just never seen a pickup truck cop car. And I started thinking that it could have been an undercover cop, but I still kept going to that same point, which was, what did I do? Finally, someone emerged from the vehicle. It was dark, but I could clearly see that this person was wearing black pants and a black hooded sweatshirt. Full alarm bells were going off because I was sure that I had never seen a cop with a hoodie on. But it didn't speed away because I still had that fear of, what if this was a cop? I would be fleeing the police and they would have my license plate, and it was a whole mental battle that I was having. He looked like wobbling all over the place as he was walking towards my car. And when he got to my window, which was rolled down about a quarter of the way, I could see most of his face, even through the hood, as it was firmly on. He starts shouting from outside the window, "Step out of the vehicle now." I could immediately smell the booze reeking out of his breath towards my face through the little crack in the window. And I know I'm stupid, but it took me this long to finally be sure that this wasn't a real cop. And I just yelled through the window, "No," grabbed my keys, and tried to start my car. While I was struggling to find the keyhole, the man shouted again that I said, "Get out right now." He then lifted part of his sweatshirt and started to pull something out that looked like a firearm, but I couldn't be sure. I just ducked down, put the car into gear, and drove off as fast as I could. I couldn't enjoy any relief in that moment, though, because within seconds, I now saw him following me. He didn't turn on the flashing lights, but got close enough to my car that he was straight up tailgating. If I switched lanes, he switched lanes. The speed limit on these dark roads was 45 miles per hour, and I was driving over 65 miles per hour trying to lose this guy. Before I knew it, I was almost 30 minutes away from campus, and this guy was still directly on my tail. I then did something that I had seen a million times in movies, and I couldn't believe that it actually worked. I was closing in on an on-ramp for the highway. I waited until the last possible second, and then swerved over and got onto the highway, forcing him to miss the ramp, or he may have crashed. About 2 minutes passed, and I saw no lights behind me. I hoped that I had finally lost this madman. Instead of getting off at the next exit, which I had a feeling that he may have thought was my plan, I made an illegal U-turn on the highway and got to the other side. I made the short drive back and got off the exit that I got on. I had no idea where I was. I drove around slowly for a while until I found a 24-hour gas station. And I go inside and told this guy what had happened and basically just begged him to call the police in that moment, which thankfully he did. I also had to ask him for directions back to the school. Now this was before everyone had cell phones all the time, so I couldn't just GPS my way back. I had a brick phone that I usually just kept in my dorm, and when the cops showed up, I gave them all the information I could, which honestly wasn't that much since it was so dark. I mean, how many people own a pickup truck and a hoodie? Probably millions. The cop was honest and told me that they most likely would never find out who the man was, since I didn't get any plate information. He was super nice, though, and escorted me back to the school just in case that man resurfaced. I think about that night a lot, just how crazy it was and how stupid I was. I wanted to punch the past version of myself for pulling over and not reacting faster. Whenever I have a truck tailgating me at night now, I'm always reminded of that night. And I just hope that all these years later that truck man never returns.
When I was younger, each summer and almost every New Year, my family would pack the car and go on a road trip to visit family in Mexico. We never had any problems until one particular trip when I was 8. Like every road trip before, we left our home in North Texas around 6 p.m. in order to reach our destination the following morning. So around 2 a.m., we crossed into Mexico. And that's when things got weird. When you're on an only stretch of freeway in the middle of the desert, you don't tend to freak out about having the same car behind you for miles. It was practically pitch black on the outside of our car windows, the only visible shapes being the dotted stars and the eerie silhouettes of the cacti. We'd been in Mexico for an hour and a half, still had a few more hours to drive, and I remember sleeping but not being semi-conscious of what was around me, because I didn't have the skill to really fall asleep in a car. So when my mother suddenly spoke my dad's name, I heard her. Miguel. That car behind us, it's been behind us since we left Laredo. My dad peeked at the car and shrugged off my mom's tension. A lot of cars use this road. He's probably going to Reynosa or another city, and left it at that. Despite his sureness, my mom kept a weary eye on that car behind us. By this time, my siblings and I were hyper-aware of the car, and entertained ourselves with watching him through the gaps in the luggage that blocked the rear window. We got tired pretty quickly. He's getting closer, my mother noted. We turned to watch as the car inched closer and closer to ours. He's too close, Miguel. She was right. By this time, the car was practically pressed against the rear of our car, on a lonely stretch of the highway in the middle of nowhere, with another few hours until daylight. It was downright scary. We couldn't do much. My dad didn't slow down, didn't stop, and he didn't speed away either. He just drove, and that car followed. The next 30 minutes were the most tense we had ever experienced. The car would ease off sometimes, only to press its blinding headlights against our rear once more. Like he knew he was freaking us out, and enjoyed it. It was during one of the periods that the car had pulled away that my mom spotted a police car up ahead, parked on the side of the road. And she didn't miss a beat. Pull over. Right in front of the police. Pull over right now, Miguel. And he did. And that car kept driving. I wonder how confused the policeman must have been as he watched my dad park our car right in front of him. The policeman came over and asked what was wrong. My mother urgently told him everything. The car, the way it followed us, and taunted us. The policeman took her claims seriously and told us how people were victimized and had their cars stolen on these empty highways by thugs and criminals. Then he offered to drive behind us for a while to make us feel safer. We drove off with that police cruiser behind us, relieved. Until about 10 minutes later, when we saw something that confirmed the policeman's words and my mother's worst fears. We saw that car pulled over, on the side of the road, waiting.
This happened in 2019. I was in my second year of college. At the time, I lived with 2 other girls in a town home, but they were back at their parents' house for the holidays. I work in healthcare, and would be working Christmas that year. A bit of backstory. There used to be 4 of us living there, but one of our roommates had to move out due to issues with her boyfriend. He suffered from a condition called jackass. He was supposed to come every so often, but basically ended up living there. We told her that she had to kick him out after an incident where he got physical with her and verbally abusive with the rest of us. She wouldn't listen, and we told her that she would have to talk to the landlord. Long story short, she ended up moving out and left on bad terms with us. On another side note, I've also been in an abusive relationship, so I understand how things might have been for her. I tried my best for 2 years at that point to help her open her eyes and get her away from him. But, you know how it goes. The entire situation was affecting everyone that lived there, and we didn't feel safe with him around, so she had to move out. It was Christmas Eve, and I had to work the next day, so I was getting ready for bed. I locked the doors, turned off all the lights, and went downstairs to the basement where my bedroom was. I was scrolling on my phone for about an hour. It was Christmas Day at this point. That's when I heard what sounded like chairs in the kitchen being moved. The kitchen is right above my bedroom. I thought maybe I was hearing the neighbors next door, as we share the same walls, and sometimes they can be loud.
Okay.
But I remember one of them texting me and asking me to bring in a package they were expecting, since they were gone. The noise was brief, so I just brushed it off. Next thing I knew, my bedroom door is being creaked open.
Hey, brother.
In this moment, I get a flashback and remembered my second grade teacher telling us about the time someone had broken into her house, and she acted as if she was sleeping. So if they were just there to rob her, they wouldn't feel the need to hurt her.
Yeah,
But
that's cap.
my phone screen was lighting up my scared, jaw-dropped face, so I was unable to put on that facade. My bed faces directly to the door, so we're just looking right at each other. I was shitting myself. While the intruder had 1 foot in my bedroom, with the door cracked open. It felt like an eternity, but in reality it was probably only about 10 seconds.
Jesus.
We were just staring at each other.
Okay, yeah, just sitting
He
there, yes.
slowly closes my door. I just sit there in complete and utter shock. I could not make out what he looked like, as my eyes were still adjusting to the dark. All I could see was a backward baseball cap.
I want him caught this time.
I knew that I had to call the police, but my anxious ass knew that if I called, it would alert my parents. It was part of our phone plan. Me being dumb as hell, didn't want to worry them.
Send out the chopper to
I was also scared that he might still be in the house, and I didn't know what he would do if he heard me call. So I texted my boyfriend. Some random guy just broke into my house and came into my room. He immediately snapped me out of it and texted back, "Call the police." The dispatcher asked me if I felt comfortable to go unlock the front door.
Dude, there's no
So they
fucking
wouldn't have
way.
to break it down. I told her no way. I don't care if the door is broken. I'm not going up there
I
alone.
lost this race.
A couple minutes later, I see flashlights shining through my window. I
Yeah,
hear the
I lost
police
this
knocking
fucking
at the
race.
door and announcing themselves. Once they were inside, they asked me where I was. I came out of my room, and they escorted me outside. They told me to wait on the back porch while they searched the house. It was like a scene straight out of a horror movie. They didn't find anyone, and said that it looked like nothing had been taken, and that there were no signs of forced entry. My boyfriend came and stayed with me for the rest of that night, but I still couldn't sleep. I kept getting up to check every inch of the house. I placed chairs under the door handles on the front door, back door, and even my bedroom. The
I'm
next
dead.
day I informed our landlord
I'm
what
dead.
happened.
I'm dead. I'm
But
dead.
she refused to come out and change the locks, even when winter break was over. For the rest of the time we stayed there, the locks were never changed. I believe it was our old roommate's boyfriend. I think he had an extra key made for him at some point, because he was basically living there. But I don't understand why he didn't do anything to me, and he didn't take anything. If I'm wrong and it was somebody random, I don't know.
Oh my fucking god, I'm done with this shit. I
What were their
can't.
intentions? Well, that
Car.
could have been any number of things.
Wow.
So I live in a dorm on campus at my college. I was back a week early during winter break for Greek recruitment.
Oh, it gave it to
basically
me. What a
interviewing with
fucking
and visiting
car.
different
It's
sororities. And the only people on campus were a few other students doing the same, and a skeleton crew. They didn't have the cleaning company, dining hall staff, or even our resident assistants around. There were 4 dorm towers, 12 floors each. I was the only one on my floor, and one of only a few in the entire tower. To get up to the dorm this week, you had to check in with the front desk to get your key activated. If you didn't have a key coded to a specific tower or room, you wouldn't even be able to access the elevator. Now, I was in my room on the second night of the week. I had settled back in, and sitting on my futon, back against one of the armrests, and facing the door. The rooms were your typical long rectangles, with a window on one end and a door on the other. My bed was lofted above me, and a blanket was hanging down, so you essentially couldn't see me from the doorway. I was lying there with my headphones in, scrolling through YouTube videos, when I heard the door opening. Not only was there a distinct sound of the key card going in, like a hotel room door, I also have Christmas ornaments hanging from the ceiling. I knew that the door had opened all the way, because it had hit an ornament, causing it to fall off its hook. I froze in fear. I knew my roommate wasn't back, and neither was my RA, and those are the only 2 people that would have access to my room. My first thought was that whoever this was would realize their mistake and quickly back out, kind of like opening an occupied bathroom stall. But as I sat there, barely breathing, I heard them taking 2 steps forward and even bumping into my suitcase, which was taking up most of the doorway. I adjusted slightly, moving to reach my phone, causing my futon to squeak. Instantly the footsteps retreated, and the door closed. I was stuck where I was for maybe an hour, until I could finally muster up the courage to get up. There on the ground was the broken ornament, and my suitcase sitting slightly ajar. I texted my roommate and my RA, practically begging them to tell me that they were back, but my roommate was still in London, and my RA confirmed my worst fears. But she also had no idea who would be able to get into my room. Even if the cleaning people or maintenance guys were back, they didn't have permission to go into the dorms, nor any way to get in. She assured me she would let the front desk know, and also suggested it was probably a spring admission student who had gotten the wrong key. I accepted that as an answer. They were confused, heard the futon, and realized they had got the wrong room. It would never happen again if that was it. But I still struggled to sleep that night. I even felt terrified to turn around and look at the door when I woke up the next morning. Night returned, unable to sleep and still very scared. I was once again up late browsing Reddit. This time I had my phone close to me and had taped a piece of string over the door, since I no longer had my ornamental alarm. I needed to validate that I wasn't going crazy.
What the
Once again at 3 a.m., I heard...
These new menu items at Panera are
yeah, it just made me faster, bro. Don't worry about it, brother.
$10.
Overlap. I'm not even qualified to be in this race. Welcome to Brixton and bodies and British. Try that.
Heard heavy footsteps outside my door.
So I overlapped every single person in the race.
Distinct use of a key card.
That was 52K. I'm gonna drain it.
I stayed perfectly still, and I realized I could see a reflection of a silhouette in the microwave's door, which sat against the window facing the doorway. They stood there and nearly filled up the entire doorway, the light from the hallway streaming around them into my dark room. I once again found myself frozen, convinced whoever this person was had ill intent. Last night wasn't a mistake. I hit play on a video I had queued up, and as soon as the ad started playing, the figure left, and the door closed behind them. and the footsteps retreated. I told my RA and my roommate about this, as well as the front desk, the next morning. All of them confirmed that no one else had a registered key for my floor in my tower. Rather, it was another student or employees. I didn't sleep for the rest of that week, and kept my suitcase and chair in front of the door, but it never happened again. But even now, months later, that 9x20 room is terrifying to me whenever I'm there alone at night, since whoever comes through that door is only a few steps away from my bed and blocks the only way out. This happened 20 years ago. I was driving back home with my girlfriend at the time. It was Christmas Eve, and my mother's family used to hold a large celebration at my aunt's house in Estacada. This was my girlfriend's first time meeting with my extended family, but she got on quite well with them. We spent the majority of the afternoon and evening talking, playing poker, opening presents, and drinking an assortment of adult beverages. My girlfriend had been quite inebriated by the time we had to leave. Therefore, I would be driving us home. It was around 11 p.m. or so, and I was driving my girlfriend's car along Highway 211. Now, this stretch of road is surrounded by farms and dense patches of forest. There are parts of it that are completely unlit, but nothing to fear.
Welcome to Bricks and My Bobbies and Bodies and Trills. Oh, yes.
There's a portion of the highway that descends down an enormous hill before crossing Deep Creek. Surrounding both sides of the road is a thick forest. The only thing that we could see
Carlos,
was the area
I'm about to
directly in front of our
overlap you
headlights.
like crazy.
I drove down the hill, crossed the bridge, then back uphill,
Third.
through more forest.
About
It was
being
when the highway begins to flatten
second.
out again that it happened.
About being
Something
first.
sprints across the road so quickly, I nearly hit whatever it was. I slam on the brakes. I turned to my girlfriend. Hey, did you just see that? She confirmed that she had, but couldn't make out what it was. Maybe it was a coyote. They're a fairly common sight around this area, but something felt off about this entire situation. Whatever it was ran out in front of the car, then disappeared into the woods. Coyotes usually don't dart out in front of cars like that. So, for some reason, I decided to check it out. I turned the car
Hey,
around
Carlos. Bye,
and switched on
Carlos.
high beams to illuminate the forest. I then stepped out of the car and began walking towards the woods. I don't see anything, but as I drew closer to the tree line,
Oh, I'm coming for you
feels like
third.
perhaps
Oh
I
no,
had
second. I just
a
overlapped you, bro.
grave mistake. My heart was pounding, and the hairs on the back of my neck were now standing at full attention. I don't see anything unusual
Hey there,
in the
butter.
trees. Then suddenly, the car horn blasts. I hurried back to the car and asked my girlfriend what was going on. She didn't say anything. Instead, she pointed to a spot about 50 feet from where I was standing. I look over in that direction.
Oh,
That's when I
shit.
saw it. Without a doubt, this was the thing that ran in front of our car. It appeared to be a man, completely naked. His skin was covered in mud, and in one of his hands, he was holding a hatchet. He looked back at us, and then he smiled, then waved, just before turning around and walking back into the forest. Needless to say, we got the hell out of there. Once we were safely on the road again, my girlfriend explained what had just happened. While I was driving to the man in the direction that he initially vanished in, he circled around and came out from another spot in the forest beyond the car's headlights. My girlfriend had seen something out of the corner of her eye, and that's when she spotted him.
Inebriated,
Before she honked
but
the
she
horn,
can pay
he was walking
attention.
toward me, his hatchet raised, as if making to strike me. We called the authorities once we safely got back home, but they never found anybody. They also to explain his theory. The man was looking to ambush unsuspecting travelers. We all agreed that my girlfriend's quick thinking saved my life that night, as it let my potential murderer know that I wasn't alone out there. I moved back into that
Welcome to
area
Brixton, my bodies and bobbies and
recently.
just.
There hasn't been any naked hatchet man sightings yet, but I can tell you that I'm definitely extra vigilant now, especially.
I'm ready to get this race over with. How many laps is there? 3?
I used to deliver on a paper route when I was 13. It was that sort of old school route where I'd hustle every morning around 6 a.m. with a satchel, dropping off the daily paper to houses.
Oh
It was
no, I
pretty
hit it.
simple and pretty much exactly what you expect. The one main part about the job was that it was rain or shine. No matter the weather, even if it was pitch black with a blizzard, the paper was getting delivered. That's probably why they used to hire kids back in the day. It was easier to pressure them to go. I had to walk that route either way. One day I was dropping off papers as usual in the morning. It was winter and still dark. These were my favorite shifts because it felt like the whole world hadn't quite turned on yet. It was cool seeing all the homes nice and cozy. Maybe a wisp or two of smoke still escaping the chimneys. It's just nostalgic for no reason. Maybe because of the holidays. I slogged on through the dark. The few street lights that guided my route cast dim yellow glares into the snowdrifts beneath them. I remember it being extra still and ominous. I would periodically stop between houses to catch my breath, but it was really to survey the neighborhood. I still can't put my finger on it, even to this day, but I remember just feeling weird that morning. Something was off, but not anything I was aware of. All I could do was push on through the cold and get the job done.
Yo, I'm kind of cooking.
Passing a house at the end of the cul-de-sac. I heard 2 loud pops, followed by a third a minute later. I grew up around guns and knew that sound. I just carried on with my route. I figured it was someone getting their car started and the exhaust backfired or something. I'd seen that happen to my dad's truck before, and other cars around town, so I knew it was a possibility. In my 13-year-old brain, it was way more likely than 3 consecutive gunshots. I waited to say anything to anyone until later on that morning. It's just one of those things you don't want to mention because you don't know the gravity of the situation. When I mentioned what I'd heard, my parents immediately told me that it was all in my head. It probably was just a car backfiring. It did put me at ease. I just went on with my day. That confirmed what I was so desperate to believe. Later that morning, my neighborhood was full of police and news vans centered around the house. They were clamoring for neighbors or me. Sad that morning. My parents told me to stay inside, but the truth is that I would have never gone to speak to them. Just like when I hesitated to tell my parents, I felt like I was doing something awful when I told them about what I heard. It felt disrespectful, strange, and very ominous. It felt wrong. I didn't know every single neighbor that we had at the time, but if any of them were dead, I wouldn't have the stomach to hear the news. That was a heavy realization, too, that the paper boy knew first. Maybe that is why I hesitated. I will be speaking about people I didn't know at all, and it felt very sad to me. You may be able to tell the story gave me a lifetime of very quiet, suffocating PTSD. We got the full story as it was pieced together throughout the week. The man who lived in the house was older, at least older than my dad, and had been a local for a very long time. He had a son who was in the army, and had been away for some time. He went through a deployment of some kind. I don't know the exact military details, but he eventually came home to visit his father. When he arrived back at home, he wasn't alone. He brought another guy with him, and then proceeded to come out to his father as gay. The other guy was his boyfriend. No one really knew any of the details beyond that, other than how the visit concluded. The dad shot and killed them both that morning, and immediately turned the gun on himself. This is all speculation, but I imagine it was a cold visit for them. Even colder with a half-foot of snow, burying the house and clogging up the streets. It was probably the morning they were planning on heading back to the base, or wherever they lived. My father just couldn't take it. Couldn't leave them like that. It's a tragedy and impacted the entire community, but no one more than me. I didn't deliver another paper for a while. Everyone was pretty understanding as to why, even the newspaper editor. The talk of the town, but for me, it was a memory. It's like I was the fourth man in the room when it happened or something. Be good to yourselves out there. I was driving to work during the tail end of a
Why
massive
is like
snowstorm.
almost every once in a while it's
Or sort
raining?
of essential food service, but for a college campus. Many of the students who live on campus don't have kitchens in their dorms, or many don't even drive. So lots of them wouldn't eat if we didn't open up. This made us travel up through some pretty insane conditions. But those kids wouldn't eat if we didn't show up. Even restaurants
What
near
do we
campus
do?
closed during a level 3 snow emergency inside the city. Anyway, the
Welcome
informal
to
policy
Brixton,
for work for these
Bobbies and
situations
Bollies.
is just to make an honest effort if you can. But don't risk your life. I'm one of the few there that has a four-wheel drive, and I have the biggest vehicle, a crew cab truck. So I drive down to campus and then pick up workers who live nearby that wanted to come in. I'm rolling down the highway at a decent clip, only one lane that had been sort of
Move,
flat.
bitch. Move,
I
bitch.
skied over to the far left and kicked it into movement. Not many cars out. It's still snowing and things are going pretty smooth, and I'm feeling good. Never fall for that overconfidence, though. That's what brings on the trouble. Once you're confident, get relaxed, and after that, it's all over. You stop making decisions and start reacting. That's when you forfeit control. I'm doing about 40 miles per hour when I notice a pair of headlights coming up behind me, faster than they should. It has to be an emergency vehicle, right? I couldn't really tell. I signaled to move over to the middle lane, just in case they're starting to ease over. The headlights are getting closer, way faster than I'm comfortable with. It's close enough now that I can tell it's a big, lifted SUV. Now, my farm truck is pretty big, but I'm not keen on wrecking it, and I certainly don't want to tangle with something that's that big in this weather. I assume it has four-wheel drive as well, but what a jackass. There's no reason to be driving this fast on ice and snow. I let off the pedal and start inching to the far right lane, just about the time he's going to overtake me,
What's up, West?
just as we're heading onto a bridge. Something went wrong for the guy.
Dude,
That ice
I'm about
got
to
him, and he
smoke these
started
motherfuckers. Come on.
I'm ever so gingerly toeing the brake, trying to slow the best I can without risking the same fate for myself. I know without a doubt in my mind, this driver is a lost cause, maybe even a fatality. I'm trying to create as much distance as possible when he collides with something. Crashes in the snow have a nasty habit of pulling the cars around them into the mix as well. There's just too many extra factors with all the sliding and the embankments. The SUV loses all traction, spins, and goes sliding over across my lane, missing me by inches. Windshield facing windshield. It was close enough that we locked eyes for a split second. I could see the terror in them. Then he spun away from me, into the darkness and off the road. He was exactly what I expected. Young, either arrogant or ignorant, to how to drive in the snow. Maybe there was an emergency somewhere, but who knows. We both just crossed the bridge as this happened. We went flying off the highway right where the guardrail ended, sailing into some trees. I saw the branches shake and the snow fall whoosh, and nothing but the faint glow of the taillights. Now I had to call this idiot in, and I can't tell you how common it is for some dummy driver to send their car sailing off a roadway, snow or shine, only to never be found. Calling it in is the move, because the person that just crashed might be unconscious and there's no way to get to them. They could wake up later with no memory of where they were, and even if they do remember, sometimes the crash can rearrange the contents of a car. Their phone might not be where they left it. Either way, that dumbass not only wrecked driving like an idiot, but almost came inches from taking me with him. I saw a couple of cars behind me slowing down and pulling off, so I called 911 and kept right on to work. My butt cheeks were clenched so tight, I thought I was going to have to get someone to pry me off the truck seat with a crowbar. It's not
Kinda
always
weird.
the ice and snow that'll get you into trouble. It's the damn idiots you share the roads with, who don't know how to drive safe in it at all.
I'm so glad that I don't live in apartments anymore. At least in the city I used to live in. I had a family across the hall from me, and they were okay people, except for their oldest son. He didn't say much, But when he did, he talked in a creepy kind of soft-spoken way, like Michael Jackson. But more like he was on something. He had offered to help us move my wife's stuff into our apartment when her family showed up with the U-Haul, and her family, being trusted people, said yes. Now, I was a bit hesitant, but we did need the extra help. We somehow got to talking about a pair of pants that I no longer needed, and he's immediately like, "Yo, can I have them?" "Sure, whatever, dude." He stares at the pants like he found a lost treasure. It was weird. As we're moving stuff, he then asks if there's anything else he can have. Creepy. I told him we'd let him know if something fit him that we don't want. After that, my wife knew firsthand just how weird he was. One time,
West
he
is
randomly
the
knocked on our
best.
door and
It's
asked if we wanted to
trash.
buy some candy. Fast forward a few
Trash
months later,
can.
and some unrelated stuff.
I didn't know I was going against trash cans.
And we were seriously considering not renewing our lease. I knew it was time to leave when we were woken up at 6 a.m. one morning to hear the police shouting, "It's the police, open up! We have a search warrant!" They shout 2 more times, and then we hear a loud crack, and we saw through the people that they busted down a door. A week later, the family moved out. I hated that they left because other members of the family seemed pretty normal. Unfortunately, a week or two later, we see the older creepy-ass son hanging around our hallway. I had nodded to him on my way out to get the mail, and I then called my wife like, "He's still here? What the hell?" She says I should strike up a conversation to find out if his family's still here, and then act confused even though we saw them taking out furniture. So when I came back to the apartment, I had made eye contact, and I asked how his family's doing. "They're good," he responds. Cool, good to hear. I haven't seen y'all around lately. I thought I saw them moving stuff out.